podcast. It's Mike Linsing here with my co-host Jason
Mike,
Salman
Mike,
tonight.
Mike, you're wearing a hat. The picture you sent me earlier was beaches and palm trees. Why are you wearing a hat right now? I thought
It's
you were
cold at
in.
my house.
I thought you were in the beaches and palm trees of Richmond Heights.
Wasn't cold enough. Wasn't cold enough to have off school like you guys today.
Hey, yeah, it was a. I had off school. I did have basketball tonight, but there was. It was a good an extra day off, Mike. An extra day off was always what the doctor ordered.
Plus, you come back to a 3-day week. That's
Yeah,
even
well,
better.
here's what's really crazy. We had a PD day on Friday. So the kids haven't been in school since last Thursday. So they're going to come in tomorrow off their rocker. I know it. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. They're going to be like, "School? Where's my seat at again? I don't know." And they're going to be walking around. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. I'm sure there'll be some hiccups along the way because they haven't been in school for 6 days now at this point. They have, whatever. Oh well, life goes on, Mike. It goes on. Uh, just like the NBA wins pool, Mike. I want you to know there was only 2 days of games. Not really much. I think every team played one game, and you gained two more, Mike.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
You're
you're.
minus 32 now.
Yeah, minus 32 now, Mike. You're on your roll.
Beautiful.
On your way. On your
Beautiful.
way.
Here we
On
come.
your way.
Here we come in the second half.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, Mike, that you're hanging in there. You're hanging in
I give
there.
up.
My,
If I could
you have
concede
little
now, I
faith, my
would. If
friend.
I could concede now, I would.
Okay. All right. Well, you cannot concede. We're gonna track this to the end. We're gonna see how close you can get it. What's the spread, Mike? What's the spread?
I don't know. I don't even know how. I don't even know how you put odds on a wins total pool. So you tell me what it is. I don't know. I don't have enough gambling.
40. I'm gonna say
To
40, Mike. Are you gonna lose by less than 40?
okay, that's where you're putting the over under at
That's what
40.
I'm putting it at. Yeah, 40, Mike. Are you gonna lose by less than 40?
I'll say no.
You have confidence in my
I'm
pool
feeling. I'm
picks
feeling. I'm feeling. I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling confident.
that you suck at picking this
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so Mike and I think last week we talked about what were we going to talk about, and we maybe talked about doing a second half preview. But after what we witnessed this past weekend, I feel like this is going to be a valid 45-minute discussion. Uh, the All Star game is a mess. It is a disaster. It is terrible. Mike, I am the prime demographic for the NBA All Star game. Right? Would you agree? I'm the prime 38-year-old male who watches the NBA frequently and watches pretty much anything that's if there's an NBA game on national TV, I will watch it. True or false?
Unless there's golf on.
Oh, I did not watch golf on Sunday night.
Okay. There you go.
Golf was not on. Golf was over. Congrats
Okay.
to Ludwig Oberg on his come from behind victory on Sunday at Torrey Pines, the Genesis Open, hosted by Tiger
Okay.
Woods. All right,
Well, if it
but
would have been, if he would have been, if Greg Norman and Nick Faldo would have been, teaming up to challenge the Walrus, Craig Stadler and Colin Montgomery, you'd have been
that
tuning
may
in
have
for
been
that for
more
sure.
exciting than the All Star game, Mike.
It might have been. It might have been.
No,
I can't say that. I can't say that I'm not completely regretting watching the All Star game when I could have been watching the 50th anniversary of Saturday Night
well,
Live.
that's
So
where I'm going, Mike. That's where I'm going because I made it through. So I went to as I said last week. I was going to Captain America with my dad, and my two sons, and we went and saw that at, 6:15. But by the way, preview of the dang movie. The movie start time said 6:15. It did not start until 6:45, Mike. It was ridiculous. They're
that's typical.
ridiculous. They're terrible. That's the one law that's possibly coming to fruition that I love is that lawmakers are trying to get that movie theaters have to post the actual start times in the movie, not when the previews start. That would be glorious. Anyways, um, so I got home and the first game had just ended, and I'm like, oh, I'll sit down and watch the second game. And then I realized that there was like 30 minutes of nonsense before the second game even started, Mike. 30 minutes of bona fide ridiculousness, like just stupid stuff. And you had the Mr. Beast challenge. They had some rapper that I don't even know who they were.
Too
I
short? You didn't know Too Short?
No, the only ones I knew was
So
the
look,
En Vogue when
too.
En Vogue come out. En Vogue came out.
Okay,
That was the only thing I
all right.
knew.
So Too Short. I have many of his albums on cassette from back in the day when I was in high school and in college.
I'm
So
too tall to understand what he was. It was
it
listen
it feels like when you're rolling out Too Short, who was a popular guy back in the day, but I'm not
back
sure
in the
that
day
anybody.
exactly, Mike.
Yeah, back in the
It's
day. So again, keep in mind here that I'm almost 55 years old, and Too Short is probably just on the cusp of me remembering him as a meaningful
2 years
musical
when
artist.
Alzheimer's starts to
So
kick in, you won't remember who he is, right?
so right. So for you or anyone much younger than me, they had no idea who Too Short was as far as that musical act goes. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean the
It was just
downtime.
it was just the amount of like I saw a stat that the 3.5 hour broadcast or whatever it was, 3 hour broadcast had 33 minutes of basketball played during it.
Yeah, that's about right.
That's ridiculous. And listen, is it sad that the second game was the best game? Right? The Rising Stars game was solid, right? Rising Stars versus OGs. And we're not even gonna I think LeBron saw how this is gonna be a clown show and was like, I'm not even participating in this. I'm just sitting on the sideline. I'm not participating in this. I don't want my hands to be in this stupidity and whatever. I don't know. But I got through that game, like, and then they started doing all their nonsense, and I didn't even watch the third game. I have Peacock, so I went and started the SNL 50th anniversary at that point because I was like, I can't watch this anymore. I just can't. This is not what I want to see. So I turned off the All Star game. I went and started watching SNL 50. I got like halfway through the show, and then I finished it yesterday. Um, Man, was that good though? That was good. So if you have any chance to watch it, Mike, which I don't know if you do, Chef recommends it. I thought it was good.
I'll figure it out somehow. I've seen bits and pieces of several sketches, but Eddie Murphy. Anytime Eddie Murphy is on screen, I'm
Well,
100% down
listen,
for Eddie
listen.
Murphy.
I mean, the Black Jeopardy sketch was fantastic. And the Scared Straight with Will Ferrell
Yeah,
and
those two are
him.
very good. I've seen most of I think both of those sketches. So yeah, they.
Yeah,
I mean, you put Eddie Murphy on the screen, you're not going to do wrong by
Weekend
me
Update
for
was
sure.
good with Bill Murray on it. Was pretty
Didn't see
good.
that yet.
And I enjoyed the anything. All the Will Ferrell stuff was good. Like I wish I know why they didn't go the Celebrity Jeopardy route because of Trebek being dead. I'm pretty sure that sketch is done and buried. I can't imagine they're gonna ever bring that one back out again. And they have Kenan Thompson doing the Black Jeopardy sketch. But man, I could really kill for a really good Celebrity Jeopardy episode, a sketch from SNL if he ever comes back and does a host or something. But I don't know. Anyways, we only talk about SNL 50, but what I'm going to say is this: the All Star Game, the NBA should be embarrassed. They should be upset. The amount of people that I've seen complaining about how much of a disaster and dumpster fire it is, they have to be concerned. When people are saying that the NHL had a better All Star Game, and I don't know if you've seen the discourse on that at all. And the game's
I have.
been they have a game Thursday, right? The USA's playing Canada on Thursday. Is that accurate or something like that? I feel like that.
There's another game. Yeah.
Yeah, the USA's playing Canada on Thursday, and you know there was a fight like 30 seconds into it, and people were blaming maybe a current president for that situation. But I I will say this much: like they need to figure it out. I think they have to go back to East West. I think some player, I don't even remember who it said, make the home court advantage in the finals on the line. I don't even know if that. I mean, that's not going to change. Like, it's just the apathy and the lack of caring. Listen, it speaks volumes. What player, Mike? And I'm not saying what player is the only player that looked like they were wanting to play on both ends of the floor and be all
Oh,
over.
I know who this one is. This is an easy one. I was going to ask you the same question. Kyrie Irving.
Oh, well, I was going to say Victor Wembanyama.
No. Kyrie. Clearly, I don't think there was any doubt. And Victor, I think, wanted to play too. But when Kyrie was in the game, he was trying to play defense. He was actually playing with a little
Wait,
bit
who did he
of
locked up? He
intensity.
locked up Mitchell once or twice, right?
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, he was playing harder than anybody out there, clearly, to me. And I think Victor cared too. But if I would have picked an MVP, I would have given the MVP to Kyrie just because of, and from an effort standpoint. I mean, all right, here's what I think we need to do when we're talking about this. Let's break this thing down part by part, because if we just kind of throw an overlay on the whole thing, there's just so many different directions that we can go. So let's start with the first point that you brought up, which is all the downtime. There is nobody who is a fan of basketball that wants to watch a 30-minute intermission of Too Short and En Vogue. There's nobody that, as much as any of us like Shaq and Charles and Kenny and Ernie, I don't need to see in the middle of a game a 17-minute tribute to those guys who, by the way, they're not going away, right? They're just changing.
Well,
to
they're
a
not doing
different
the All-Star
network.
game anymore. That was
So-
all the clips were from the All-Star game.
Okay, whatever. Anyway, I don't need to
That
see
that
that.
could have been a pre-show thing, right? That should have been a pre-show thing. They're going to
I
do
don't
it.
need to see that in the middle of a game.
Yeah.
So if you think about, and then I don't need to see Kevin Hart. I'm not sure who thinks Kevin Hart is funny. I don't know what his demographic is. I don't know when Kevin Hart was funny. I honestly can't think of any movie,
Jumanji?
anything. No, I can't think of one thing that I've ever seen Kevin Hart in that I was like, oh, I need to see more of Kevin Hart. And so
You didn't see Jumanji? Did you not see the newest Jumanji movies, Mike? Come on.
the newest, the oldest. I've read the book, Chris Van Allsburg, but not the movie. Anyway, I don't need to see Kevin Hart, number one. He added zero and probably was taking things off the table rather than adding to them. And
It was funny to
took me
see
to
him
watch-
standing next to Shaq, though. Come on, that was kind of funny.
okay,
It looked
that was funny
like
for like
me when
half a
I'm standing
second.
next to Ellie.
and it doesn't and it doesn't really matter that okay, he's short. Like we all get that. Like we can only
Is
make
he too
so many
short?
jokes that we can he's not as good as Too Short. We can't just continue to make Kevin Hart as short jokes and think that we're entertaining. I don't know who we're entertaining. I don't know who that particular segment is for. I don't know what that's all about. So I think even if you just say, okay, the current format, why do we need 30 minutes in between the two games?
Because
That
they
to
have to
me-
sell commercial time, Mike. That's why.
Yeah, but you can have a little bit of commercial time and still play the game within a reasonable amount of time. We don't have to have a musical act in between. It's not like the Super Bowl where every single person in the United States who has a TV on at that point is tuned into the Super Bowl, and you're now catering to a bunch of people who want to tune in just to see the Super Bowl halftime show. There's nobody that's tuning into the NBA All-Star game going, hey, I wonder who the musical act is that we're going to see in between these two fake half games. And boy, I can't wait. That's appointment television viewing. Whereas I'm
We're
sure
definitely going to get
for
an
the
old
Super
school artist at the Super Bowl next year, right?
Probably you would think so.
After Kendrick Lamar, I think so.
You would think so. I don't know. You would think.
Maybe Too Short could come out and do a set.
Maybe I like it. Let's do it. Anyway, you have to, even if you stick, if you were to stick with the current format, which I don't think there's any chance that they come back with this current format, but if you did, you have to eliminate all of the shenanigans in between the games and just give the players whatever minimal amount of time they need to be able to warm up. Get them a court back underneath the arena somewhere. So the team that just played, they played a game to 40. That's like one quarter of NBA basketball. They don't need a 30-minute break to recoup and recover for the quote championship game. They should be ready to play immediately. And the other team can be back warming up. Give them 5 minutes out of the court. Let's make it like AAU basketball. Come out there. You got 3 minutes to warm up. Boom, let's play. And I just think that when you have all that in between stuff, it just doesn't make any sense. Nobody wants to watch that.
Well,
I don't know.
Here's the analogy I'll use, Mike. It's like when we watch, not that you and I spend all the time watching the Oscars, but the Oscars go on forever and ever and ever because they should just give out the awards. They don't have to do all this grandstanding and nonsense going on. But like, just let it happen. Like, listen, here's what I want to say. Yes, you had more time for commercials and all that. Well, here's what you do. You do all the fluffy stuff. You broadcast that. You said the All-Star pregame show is from 8 to 9 p.m. And during that 8 to 9 p.m. time, we're going to do all this BS. And then the games are going to happen from 9 to 10:30 and 9 to 11. Because, like, at least then, like, the consumer is understanding what they're expecting. Okay? And you just have that happen. You have the pregame show for an hour, and then you have whatever challenges or nonsense you want. You do the whole celebration of them ahead of time, and then you just go into the games. And once the games start, it's about the games. It's about the games, whatever the situation is. I agree. I don't think there's any way there's a tournament again. There's been a lot of negative feedback, I feel. I just think if they market it the right way and they cut it down, that could have been an hour broadcast the way it was structured. If the games are only 33 minutes, that literally could have been an hour and a half at most. It was 3 and some change. That's ridiculous. Like, that's crazy. We don't want.
Ridiculous.
Would you rather have a shorter time that you're actually like watching it, but have positive feedback and goodwill towards the NBA, or a long drawn out thing that everybody bashes, but you made a little bit more money in the short term because of commercials? I think the former is better than the latter because, there's been a lot of discourse about how the NBA is changing for the worse, and the amount of 3 points and the quality of some of the games aren't as good, and yada yada yada. And then you go and do this to yourself. You just trip over your own feet.
Ultimately, I want to tune in and see basketball. And maybe there's somebody out there who's a fan of the NBA who also is a fan of all the things in between the basketball, but I find that hard to believe based
I
on,
haven't seen a single
as you
person
said,
say, "Man, that was fun to watch."
no, I agree. And so most people who are tuning in to watch the NBA All-Star game are tuning in to watch basketball. Unlike the Super Bowl, where again, it's just sort of a mainstream cultural event and there are people who just are going to tune in to see the halftime show. The NBA All-Star game is not like that. So, number one, regardless of the format of the game, you have to eliminate all the stuff during the game. You want to have a little bit longer. You want to have a 20-minute halftime and have a musical artist come out, fine. But nothing should be going on certainly in the middle of a game. And then in this format, you had time in between the games, but the format has to go. And there's so many problems with the format. I don't even know where to begin. I guess I would start here when we talk about why this format doesn't work. If you're a guy who is a first-time All-Star, you're Evan Mobley or you're Cade Cunningham. Now, granted, if you're a guy off the bench, there's been All-Star games where player 12, player 11, player 10 only gets 6 or 7 minutes in the game, and the starters end up playing a lot more than that, obviously. But those guys played like 6 minutes of basketball in an All-Star game. And to me, if you're a fan of one of those guys or their teams, the reason why you tune into the All-Star game is you want to see your guys play. And
And
this
play together,
format,
for that matter, Mike. You want to see them play
right,
together.
correct. And if
Mitchell's
you're
playing against the two of them.
right,
Like, that's
Mitchell's on a
dumb.
different team. Right, Mitchell's on a different team. Totally dumb. Couldn't agree more. And you want to see him play, and that's the bottom line. And in this format, one team was going to lose in that first game and play what in essence ends up being like a quarter of NBA basketball. And it's just not enough. People want to see these guys play. And now we can talk about whether or not they're actually playing or not, completely different issue, but you want to see them on the floor. So that's number one. That's the first problem is when a team gets out in that first game, nobody cares because you want to be able to see, you want to see your guys play. And then you have the Rising Stars team that gets in there. Was there anybody on any of those teams that you were really interested in watching? I guess Stephon Castle, simply because he made a name for himself
Dude,
the night before in the
Connect
dunk
was on
contest.
fire, baby. Connect was
But
on fire.
look, nobody wanted to see any of those guys anywhere near an all-star
I
court. The honest
I was
truth
really
is
hoping
that,
they were going to win that game, Mike. I was gonna troll. I was gonna troll,
yeah, no, I agree. It would have
and,
been
and
great
that's
for,
that's what made that game intriguing, Mike, because they
well,
were
it did.
hanging around. They were hanging
Yeah,
around.
it did, but that's not who I want to see on All-Star weekend playing in a game that's the real quote unquote all-star game. I don't want to see Dalton Connect. I don't want to see Stephon Castle. I don't want to see whoever. I don't Keontae
If he would have
George.
made
I
if
don't
he would have if Stephon Castle would have made that dunk he attempted, that would have been great. That would have been.
and look, it's fine. It's fine. But I don't want to see those guys. I want to see
But
the guys who
but
were
here's my counterpoint to
selected for
that
the
though.
all-star
Those
game.
guys actually seemed like they cared and were actually playing.
Okay, that's fine, but no one cares. Mac McClung cared about the dunk contest too, but he's not even in the league. So, as great of a performance as he put on, which we'll talk about, he's not an NBA player. Like those guys are not NBA All Stars, so they shouldn't be out
Well,
on
then
the
so
All
they need
Star
to people
floor.
need to pony up and play. Do this dunk contest. You
That's
can't
another
you
issue.
can't blame Mac
Well,
McClung.
I'm still trying to bash the format. Let me
Okay, keep
finish
going. Go
bashing
ahead,
the
Mike.
format, and
This is
then we
why
can
we're
go
not
from
doing
there.
any other topics. Go ahead, Mike.
I know exactly. Look, nobody wants to see the rising stars in the main All-Star game. I just don't. I don't buy it. And there was nobody tuning in going, "Oh man, this is
Well,
awesome.
Dalton
We get to
Connect's
see these
mom's
rising."
probably excited.
Okay, yeah, there you go. So there's one person, maybe two. Anybody who's has relatives. So maybe there's 100 people there that were excited to see them. No real NBA basketball fan wants to see those guys out there. They want to see the All-Stars that were selected for the team. Number two, then when you have two semifinal games and you're only playing up to 40, those games are over so fast. And if one team got up by like 6 or 8, you're like, this game's over. Like, there's no chance that the other team is going to come back because nobody's playing defense. So it's just a matter of how many shots are you going to make or are you going to miss? And that's boring. And it's over so fast. And then you get the two teams that win the big, exciting semifinal games. And now we've got to wait this whole long time for the championship game. And then there's no real level of seriousness to the championship
Yeah, that
game.
game was
And
terrible.
so, yeah, it was a terrible game. And the format, if it was designed to inspire guys to play harder and compete, it didn't work. So the format has to go. And we could talk about some alternative formats. I still think that ultimately East versus West is the only way that makes sense. And if it ends up being what it was last year, for example, where it's just absolutely zero defense and guys just chucking threes, then that's kind of what it is. I think anything you try to gimmick up, I'm not sure that any of it works. And we could talk about some of the suggestions that I've seen thrown around, but the tournament format doesn't work. East West, I think, is the only thing that makes sense. But that gets to the next issue of how do you get these guys to play and how do you get them to care at all?
Okay. So here are the theories. Here's the solutions that I've seen.
Okay.
The winning team when each player gets $1 million. Does that make them play harder?
No.
No, because they're all millionaires anyways, right?
Because they all have, when you're talking about all-stars, you're talking about guys that are making at this point $60 million a year, some of them. So not that $1 million is nothing to them, but I don't think $1 million to them is enough to get them to compete and go all out. So
East West
monetary does nothing.
The winning team gets advantage in the finals, East and West, just like the MLB does.
Well, MLB doesn't do that anymore, do they?
I thought they still
do that.
Okay, no, well they did for a long time.
They did it, but then I think that's been gone for a while. I don't think that lasted very long.
Okay.
But anyway, that's not going to work either because does Cade Cunningham care if the Eastern Conference gets the home court advantage in the finals?
Well, he's delusional enough to think that Detroit's going to win it.
Probably not. Does Victor care who gets home court in the West? I don't think so. Look, in a vacuum, maybe that means that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum and the three Cavs guys care about that. But there's going to be a bunch of guys on the roster who don't really care. And I'm not sure what kind of situation that sets up. To me,
Okay.
I don't think that when not everybody on your roster cares about something that's not going to work.
Okay. So what were some other changes you saw? Because those are the two that I saw.
So I saw going straight international versus US players, which then would obviously mean you would have to skew in some way how the teams are selected because you'd have to select 12 international players and 12 US players. If you talk about competitiveness, could that cause the players to play harder if they were playing, quote, for their, I guess, if you're an international
But the
player, you're
but the
not really
one team
playing
was
for your
all
country.
international players basically, anyways, Mike. Right? The Mitchell's team was a pretty much all international players except for
How
him.
was how was Mitchell on the international team, by the way? I was trying to figure that out.
I don't know. I didn't make the picks.
I was trying to I was trying to figure it out because when looking at Chuck's global stars, I'm like, why is Donovan Mitchell on that team? I tried to think about it. I'm like, am I missing something that he had some connection to some foreign land? And I don't think he did. I think they just needed to balance out the teams. But anyway, would that, if you had, again, not four teams, but if you had two teams, one team of US, one team of foreign players, would that in any way, shape, or form motivate either one of those two sides?
I
Yeah,
don't
I
think so.
agree. No, I don't think that I don't think that
What
moves the
about that
needle.
other one you sent me, Mike? In
Which
the
one?
in the Twitter DMs. We're not gonna say it. But
Oh, no, we could say that.
go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, so you had an African American team and you had a team of players who are white. Could that work?
No,
No, that wouldn't work either. It wouldn't be a good look for the
Mac
league.
McClung might have to play in that game.
he, he, he might actually he, he might actually make the league there. So no, that suggestion definitely would not work, both from a politically correct standpoint or any other standpoint. I don't think it would motivate the players to play. I don't. I think it just comes down to individual guys and do they want to compete? And the question becomes, because again, I'm old and I know when you look back a lot of times that what you think you remember and what you actually remember are maybe two different things versus what actually happened. But there definitely, when I was a kid and when I was a young adult, there were definitely all-star games that were competitive. What I remember the all-star game being is three quarters of sort of guys going, I don't want to say semi-hard even, but just, they were at least playing and there was some pretend defense going on. And then when you got to the fourth quarter, the best guys from each conference, most often the starters, occasionally you'd get somebody who was voted in as a starter back in the old days when it was all fan voting, and maybe you'd have somebody off the bench that was more deserving of playing those minutes. But you'd get the 10 best guys out on the floor in the fourth quarter. And then, not that they would play with an NBA finals intensity, but it was clear that there was some pride at work between the conferences. There was some personal pride involved. And guys, it felt like, wanted to actually win that game. And I know that I always used to think that the All-Star game MVP, that was always a big deal. I tuned in and watched the game, and then you're always sticking around afterward. Hey, who's going to win the MVP? And now, when you look at the MVP, because there's really no competitive basketball being played, it's mostly who chucked in the most threes, and that's who ends up winning the MVP. And it just feels like
Steph won it,
the
right?
individual. It's what?
Did Steph win it this
Curry.
time?
Yeah, Curry got it this time. I mean, hometown. So a lot of times the hometown guy gets it. But in the past, a lot of times the hometown guy would get it because his teammates kind of fed him the ball and looked to him and gave him more opportunities to be able to do stuff. So he might have ended up with the best stats, partly because of just his teammates looking out for him. And
When
they
when
wanted the
Kyrie won
hometown
the
guy.
MVP, it was not in Cleveland, right? It was somewhere else, right?
Yeah, he did not win it in Cleveland because Cleveland was 97 and then 2022. So
Yes. What
Kyrie was not.
Kyrie?
He
Yeah,
was
because
not with
Kyrie was
the.
on the Cavs when he won it.
Yeah.
Because
So I think that when you talk about what's the format that could work, I think
it's just East West,
I,
Mike. It's that
I
simple.
think it's East. I think it's East West, and I don't think you can attach anything else to it. In all honesty, because I just think anything that you do is going to be gimmicky, and gimmicks, as we've seen over the last 10 years, as the NBA has tried to tweak this thing, none of the gimmicks really seem to work. You think about. I know that initially when they were going to do the draft, right? We were excited about that. Hey, we're going to pick guys right on the floor. That's going to create some drama of who's going to get picked first, who's going to get picked last. And it created some comedic moments where Giannis was calling James Harden the dribbler. And, they both, when Durant and LeBron both were declining to select who are they declining? Oh,
Jokic.
they both. No, they didn't want. Who didn't they want when they were both making fun?
Pretty sure it
Was
was
that Harden?
Jokic.
No,
I'm
it
pretty
wasn't
sure
Jokic. No, it wasn't Jokic.
it was okay.
No, I'm pretty sure when they were laughing and LeBron was hiding behind the clipboard, it wasn't Jokic that they were making fun of. Who were they making fun of?
I'm gonna
It was
Google it,
Harden.
Mike. I'm gonna see if I can
All
Google
right.
it.
I'm pretty sure it was Harden.
Okay, well, keep going. Say what you want, and I'll touch.
So
Okay.
anyway, all right. Anyway, that theoretically could have been fun, but when we first envisioned it, we thought it would be just out on the court where pickup style 22 guys are standing there. You got two captains. They say, I'll take you, I'll take you, I'll take you, I'll take you. And instead they created that show beforehand because they had to get the team set. And it wasn't nearly as dramatic as we thought it was going to be. The Elam ending worked for one season and created a semi-competitive game, but that quickly went away and lost its luster. And I think the more you gimmick it up, it's just not going to work. The guys don't care about the gimmicks. Money's not going to motivate them. Uh, Basketball fans want to see a basketball game, or at least what resembles a basketball game. And the things that they've trotted out
Okay,
over the last
I
few
will
years
admit
don't.
when I'm wrong. It was Harden because the line he got traded. He's healthy now.
Oh
Was
yeah, there we go. Yeah, yeah, there we go. All right, I thought it was Harden.
so I apologize for being wrong.
It's all right. No
Not
good.
the
No,
first time, not the last time.
no worries. I've been wrong many, 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 many times on the pod. So
Just ask our. Well, I thought you were saying in life. Just ask our wives, but
yeah, there you go. We can. That one goes without saying. Anyway, I think you have to just go east and west because everything else you do just ends up backfiring and being something that NBA fans don't want to tune in for. They want to tune in for a basketball game. They don't want to tune in for Kevin Hart. They don't want to tune in for Too Short. They don't want to tune in for En Vogue. They don't want to turn in for the Rising Stars in the Real All-Star Game. They don't want to turn in for their favorite player, somebody that they voted into the All-Star Game, or somebody who got selected from their team playing 5 minutes of All-Star basketball and being done, and that's it. You want to see a real game, and you want to see guys get an opportunity to play. And ultimately, it's going to be up to the players. Adam Silver can't force those guys to play. Coaching staffs can't force those guys to play. They either have to decide we want to play a little bit and compete, or we don't. And I don't think there's much the league can do to incentivize them based on what we've seen over the last 10 years. Maybe there's some format out there that we haven't thought of, but everything that I've read, seen, heard that they've already tried, it doesn't work. And I think you just have to traditionally go east west. It makes the most sense when it comes to voting, when it comes to selecting the
what if we
teams.
get a 40-year All-Star team in there, or an like an old people's All-Star team, and see that no, because then someone blows their Achilles. That would be bad.
You want
But
Magic and Bird and Larry out there playing?
well, that was the same. Bird and
Oh,
Larry are the same.
sorry.
I want
You
like,
you want Magic, Bird, Jordan out there?
yeah, hell yeah, let's go.
No, you don't want to see that. You don't want to see those guys trying to get up and down the floor.
Why not?
You've watched 35 and over basketball. You've played in 35 and over basketball. Nobody wants to watch that.
You're right.
They used to have an old timers game. You probably don't even remember that, do you?
No.
Yeah, that used to be part of All-Star Weekend, an old timers game. It was not fun. You did not. Go back and watch some YouTube
Listen,
clips of that.
I guarantee you Jordan could still run up
see.
and down the floor. I guarantee you Jordan could still do it. It wouldn't be beautiful, but he could still go up and down the floor and hit some shots.
Do it at what level? You wouldn't want to watch him because you're watching a shell of any of those guys, even if they can still quote do it. The level that they can do it at compared to what we've been accustomed to watching when you watch them on highlights, it's going to pale in comparison. No matter,
yeah,
I don't care how great a shape you're in when you're 60 years old. It's not going to look anything like it did when you were 40 or 30 or 22. So
I'll know LeBron's going to try to get the
maybe he's going to play till he's 60.
No,
he's not going to play in the All-Star. He's not going to play in the All-Star game. That was bad, by the way, from LeBron to not play 5 hours before the game's going to start to announce, hey, I'm not going to play, so they can't replace him. Somebody else who could have been named an All-Star, even though, again, I'm not sure that that's not a hollow All-Star selection, but still somebody else who could have potentially played.
Could have been Jared Allen.
Denied the opportunity. Yeah, Jared.
Well, it would have been a Western Conference person, right?
Yeah.
It would have been a Western Conference.
Well, and Edwards didn't play either. So, yeah, both.
Why didn't he play?
Out. He had, I want to say it was a back, but some injury. So, the fact that those guys didn't let the league know in time to be able to replace him was kind of questionable. I mean, whatever. Yeah. But
all right, let's focus. Can we switch our focus to Saturday night now, Mike? Can we just talk about how great I am at picking things? We just talk about that.
Sure, go ahead. Brag a little bit.
So I picked Team Cavs, as did you.
Yeah. We both started out 1-for-1. Did you have the Spurs flaunting the rules as part of your prediction?
No, but I will tell you, I did reference that tonight. So my team didn't have a game, but the blue team, the other teams had a game. And I sat on the bench for like the last second, third, and fourth quarter. And another kid like playing against him, got him to leave his feet and like land on him. And I told him, dude, if a guy does that to you, just chuck the ball up there because you're going to get 2 free throws. Like, think about how CP3 and Victor Wembanyama were just chucking the ball just like that you're going to get free throws if you do that. And he just laughed. He's like, okay, it's a good idea. It's a good thought. Anyways, I did talk about that. No, yeah, neither of us had them cheating. Neither of us had Victor Wembanyama coming up with the idea to cheat, and not Chris Paul, at least according to them. It was Victor's idea. But yeah, I mean, that's fine. I think my favorite part of the whole thing was when Draymond missed the passes and Mobley and Mitchell are jumping up and down, so excited. Listen, good for them. Good for the cat. Good for them to represent. Good for them to, to do it for the Cavs. That was good. Do
we want that event to continue? Do we care at all about that event? Do we want that to be?
I mean, it's better than the other nonsense, like that the three person thing where they had like the hot shot game. Like that was terrible. This is better than that.
That was when they had a WNBA player involved in that, right?
Yeah, well, they did that, and then they took away the WNBA player and made it just a random person.
Wasn't it at one point? It was like an older guy and a player. And
I'd rather watch the skills thing as it is than either of those things. I mean, I'd rather watch that than the they had talked about doing like the 3-point thing with the WNBA player and the NBA player. Like I'm good on that. Like honestly, the only Caitlin Clark didn't do it last year, right? She didn't do it last year, right?
It was just INSQ.
Like if Caitlin Clark did it, then it would maybe be worth it because she's the biggest name in WNBA, and I think that would be intriguing, maybe. But anyone else, like if you showed me if you told me 5 WNBA players, and said which one of these is Sabrina, I don't know that I would know the answer to that question. Like Caitlin Clark, I could tell you who Angel Reese is, just because of Caitlin Clark, though, not because Angel Reese is good at basketball, although she's supposedly gotten better. But she was queen of smoking layups in the last season. But like I know who Diana Taurasi is. I mean, Lisa Leslie's been retired for I don't know how long, but I could tell you who she is.
Okay. Okay, we're getting. If you start saying, Ann Donovan and Nancy Lieberman Klein, then we got some right issues.
Listen,
Anyway, look.
Here's the thing. Cleveland Cavalier or Cleveland Rockers coming back, Mike.
Cleveland Rockers are coming back. There's no. We hear so much about the fact that the reason why these guys aren't in the dunk contest is because they don't want to embarrass themselves or they don't want to lose. And you're telling me that they're going to want to shoot threes against WNBA players. There's really no upside for an NBA player to compete against a WNBA player. And is it mildly intriguing to see that? I guess I could do without that. I could do without the skills challenge. I know there's talk about a one-on-one competition, which if you could get guys to play hard and play one-on-one,
king of the court,
that'd be great. But you're running into the same problem that you're running into with the All-Star game, where what incentivizes guys to want to play and compete and go hard against each other one-on-one? If you could get guys going hard, that would be a lot of fun to watch.
It would be fun. Not going to happen. It's not going to happen. That's why you just stick with the skills. I honestly, I have no notes for Saturday night. I think it should stay the way it is. Like, why mess with that? That's the one thing that they've got going good on the All-Star weekend. Like, fix the All-Star game first and then come back to the Saturday night. I just my opinion. But
all right, so skills challenge, if you're going to keep the skills challenge, it's fine the way it is. I don't care one way or the other. I couldn't tell you who won last year's skills challenge or the year before or the year before.
Oh, you could tell. No, that's a lie.
Why?
2022, you could tell who won the skills challenge. The Cavs,
no
dummy. Come on.
No idea.
Come on, man.
Oh, did they hit three? Then they hit half court shots to win?
Yeah. They won it. They won that 3 years ago. Man, they've won. Mobley said he was coming back for the crown when they announced that he was doing it. Come on, man.
I'm glad you're excited for the skills challenge.
Okay, so then we'll move to the 3-point contest.
I'm super glad you're excited for that.
Okay, so
I have no favorite memory of the skills challenge. I'll leave it there.
Check mark on the Team Cavs. Then for the 3-point contest, I said I feel like Tyler Hero's gonna win. I feel like he's gonna win. And then after the first round, I was like, he's not gonna win. Like, you got the finals. It was Dame. It was Tyler Hero, right? No, it was not Dame. It was Tyler Hero, Darius Garland, and what's his name? Buddy Hield, right? Those are the three.
Yep.
And then Garland goes out there and he does okay, not good enough. Hero went first, right? He set the bar because he was the lowest in the first round, and he just caught fire at the end. Garland didn't catch his number, and then Hield was terrible. He was bad in the final.
There's nothing wrong with the 3-point contest. The 3-point contest,
especially because I picked it right again.
There you go. You got another win. The 3-point contest, you can always, I guess, tweak the value of the different balls, and they added the starry ball last year, which is fine, especially with the way guys are shooting the ball from so deep now. I was okay with that addition. I think the 3-point contest at least is something that when you watch it, you can, I don't want to say relate to, but you understand what the skill is all about, right? The guys who can shoot the ball there are the guys who can shoot it in games. And there's a certain style of shooter that tends to work better. The guy doesn't have to have a huge jump on his shot. The guy's got a quick release.
I think it was a miss that Curry didn't do this, by the way. Like, why wouldn't he have done this?
Well, you don't know why? Because he was scheduled to shoot against whoever the WNBA player was. Originally, I guess the idea was it was going to be Ionescu and Caitlin Clark against Clay and Steph in a similar thing to what they did last year. But then the WNBA and the NBA, they couldn't come to an agreement about figuring out how to get whatever the women to participate. And so then they couldn't make that event happen. So that's why Steph wasn't in the 3-point
Yeah, well,
contest.
then just add another person. And
Right,
that's a miss. It's a miss.
No, It's totally a miss. In San Francisco, the fact that Steph wasn't in the 3-point contest,
Or
100%
Buddy
was a
Hield be
miss.
like, okay, Steph's gonna take my spot. Like,
Or just add Steph. We got one more shooter. What does it matter? We already have a all-night broadcast with lots of other shenanigans. I'm sure that people wouldn't complain about seeing Steph Curry in the 3-point contest. But all that being said, the format for the 3-point contest, the way it's run, what it's been, it continues to
it's
be
not subjective either. It's you make it or you miss
correct.
it, right?
Correct. Which makes it better. I mean, that's kind of what they're doing, trying to do with the skills challenge to some degree. And it's one of the problems with the dunk contest, which we'll talk about in a second. But the 3-point contest, it works. It works in its current format. There's probably things you could do to tweak it a little bit, but for the most part, I think the 3-point contest has worked in the past and will continue to work.
What about a big game of knockout for all the All-Stars?
Knockout would be good. That would be one of my suggestions. What about your game? Buzzer beater.
That would be good.
Buzzer beater would be fun. So for people who don't know what buzzer beater is, basically
I don't want you to say that it's my game because I did not come up with this game. I stole it from the Camp Fighting Scout.
I'm giving you credit for it. This is Jason's invention. It's called buzzer beater. Yeah, Jason came up with it. So what you do is you start at one end of the court and you start with, let's say, for an NBA player, maybe you start at 4 seconds and clock starts and the guy starts dribbling and you got to get the shot off before the buzzer. If you make it, you stay in. If you miss it, you're out. Then the next round, it goes down to 3 seconds. Then the next round, it goes down to 2 seconds until you have one guy left. And so now you're heaving up 3/4 court shots in that last round. So that could be fun. I think knockout could be kind of fun.
Dribble knockout? What about dribble knockout?
No, dribble knockout would not be fun. Because that'd be two guys just banging on each other, and their handles are so good that.
All right, Charles
I could see that going.
Yeah, the guys are banging on each
other. That's it. I could see it going forever with dribble knockout. Knockout itself probably would last a lot longer than we think, but knockout always provides a lot of excitement, and people like.
What about this one, Mike? What about a free throw contest? But you get like the 5 guys with the worst free throw percentage in the NBA.
Probably not a good marketing ploy for the NBA. Come watch DeAndre Jordan shoot free throws. I don't think
Shaq could come out of retirement.
There's not going to be anybody. The old timers free throws. You get Rick Barry out of
Rick Barry.
They panned to Rick Barry at one point, so Rick Barry could probably come out there and still shoot underhand and shoot better than 95% of the guys in the league. No, I don't think you want to showcase bad free throw shooting. I think knockout would be worth a try. No idea how long that would last, or maybe you do rounds. Maybe you have like 12 guys in it, and there's
you have 12 guys in it. And you put 6 on one basket and 6 on the other.
Yeah, something like that. Or you could even do like 12, and you could have four guys. Have 4 rounds, where 4 rounds of guys with 4. So maybe you need 16.
Yeah, we've already tried horse and that failed, right? They tried horse and that kind of failed when that was at home.
Yeah, that was when they were during COVID. The old horse, which I'm sure that people have seen probably on YouTube with Pete Maravich and Bob McAdoo and George Gervin, that was entertaining, but it was also a different era. Nowadays, I don't even know. Do your middle school kids even know what horse is?
Oh yeah, they do. Oh yeah.
Do they? Okay.
Yeah.
That's a positive.
Yeah, they know what horse is. All right.
Okay.
So let's get to the granddaddy of them all. The dunk contest.
Before we get to the dunk contest, if you could pick one of those things we talked about.
Knockout for sure. For sure.
I think knockout you could get guys to compete in that. That's why it would be good. It would be competitive. And I think guys would compete. Like one-on-one would be the best if guys would compete, but they're not going to compete. Knockout, they would compete.
And here's the other thing, Mike. You add the rule in: if you miss your second shot, you're automatically out. I love that rule, by the way. I've instituted that this year in our practice. Like we normally play a game of knockout like the day before a game. If we have a practice to end practice, if they've worked hard, it's like a reward. And if they smoke a layup or they miss, they chuck up a bad shot for the second one and they miss it, they're out.
Okay, that speeds it up.
Well, we're trying to work on fun. We're trying to work on taking good shots. So it's
right. I understand. Right. Knockout has a propensity of creating
Chaos.
situations where you're shooting way too fast, or you're just trying to chuck the ball up there to get a shot up on the rim where you're not really working on trying to make the shot necessarily. You're just trying to work on speed, or I don't know if work on is the right word.
Would Victor
You're
Wembanyama
setting
come up with a way to cheat the rules?
maybe he could dunk from the free throw line. He could just run in, and you'd have to
Yeah.
get guys far enough back to be able to do it. I think knockout would be good because again, it would be competitive, and guys actually would compete because you're not physically going against somebody offense or defense. You're just
Yeah.
shooting the ball, kind of like the 3-point contest. So yeah, I'd be good with that.
Okay, so then the last thing that happened was the dunk contest, and I was so as I previously stated on Saturday, I was at my son had his Boy Scout camp out, so I was there all day, and I got home and I watched the end of the skills thing, and then I watched the 3-point contest, and I was just like, you know what? I texted Mike. I said, I feel dead right now. I need to go to bed, and I don't need to stay up for another hour just to get disappointed. And I woke up the next morning, and I went on to Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, and I pulled up. I saw Mac McClung wins it, so I picked that correct, 3 for 3, and then I watched his dunks, and I will say he was creative with his dunks. I thought they were really good dunks, and I know that you're going to counterpoint and say he's not in the NBA, but they were really good dunks. And if no one in the NBA is willing to participate and is willing to be creative, then you know I'm all for it, because at least it's an intriguing character that you can pull out. And there's no way he's not participating next year, right? He's won 3 in a row. He's going to keep going. And people have thrown out there like Ja Morant says, Max making me feel like I should do the dunk contest. Okay, Ja, then do it. Giannis said, if you do it, Ja, I'll do it too. He tweeted that. Giannis, you got to be healthy, dude. Get me a break. You're never healthy. Get out of here. Okay. The only person that's, I mean, I want Embiid to participate in the dunk. I'm just kidding, joking. But if some of these big name people, listen, wouldn't that be awesome next year if even one of those two guys and Mac McClung and then 2 other guys came out there and they did the dunk contest? It would at least be intriguing. Could these NBA superstars take down this guy who's won 3 in a row? I think that would be intriguing. Will any of them do it? Probably not. It's gonna be Mac McClung, maybe Cooper Flag next year. Cooper Flag? No, you don't think he's worth too much? He's gonna be worth too much money and to tarnish his image.
Not going to do it. He's not going. The precedent has been set. LeBron ruined the dunk contest. LeBron set the precedent of I'm not doing it, and since then,
okay. What about Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon coming back and going against Mac McClung? Would you be okay with that? Can they still dunk in a productive manner?
Probably not as productively as they could then, but they could probably still be fairly. Let's put it this way: they would be more productive as dunkers than Buzelis and Andre Jackson.
Didn't you pick Buzelis, Mike?
Yeah, I did. I said I don't think I've ever seen him dunk ever, but why not? Let's go with it. At least he's an NBA player. Those 2 guys might have been. You'd have to go back through the history of the dunk contest, but they might have been the 2 worst competitors, at least in terms of what they put out there for.
I don't know. There was a guy like 3 years ago that didn't make a dunk in the first round, right?
Right, but Andre Jackson basically did a dunk with his right hand coming in from the left side that any kid who could dunk in high school could do that dunk equally as good as Andre Jackson. Buzelis didn't even make his first one. I think he made the second one, but it was kind of like a rub in. And it still comes down to Mac McClung's not an NBA player. He had some great dunks. The dude, look, his ability to jump is otherworldly.
His dunk over the car was 1 million times better than Blake Griffin's.
Oh, for sure. But it looks way more impressive because he's so small. And his ability to jump is crazy. The creativity that he's demonstrated to win it 3 straight years with dunks that are at least slightly different speaks to his ability to come up with good ideas. And look, he clearly deserved to win. Now, Castle's dunks were all very good. Castle's dunks also didn't require props, which I don't know how you feel about, quote, the purity of dunking, but Castle's last dunk, the one where he went between his legs and then cupped the ball and dunked. I mean, that's ridiculous what he was doing. But yet at the same time, McClung deserved to win. My problem with it is he's not an NBA player. So how excited can any of us be to watch him dunk? It's like if you took Mac McClung's dunks and transplanted them into a real NBA superstar, now suddenly you're talking about the dunk contest being on another level. And what made the dunk contest special in the past was when the best guys were in the dunk contest. And I know we're going back a long time now since the best players. We're talking about the Jordan Dominique duel in Chicago. I don't know if those days are ever coming back, but could we get at least somebody who's an NBA player that people recognize and know in the contest? It just makes it way more compelling. No matter what you say about any of those four guys in the dunk contest last night or Saturday night, you and I might know who they are, but the average NBA fan, do they even know any of those guys? Maybe you know Stephon Castle, but most people don't know Buzelis. Andre
Like
Jackson, I don't know if I would have
I'd
picked
never
him.
heard his name before.
I
We
would have
read.
never been able to pick him out of a lineup when he was
I
chosen
still
for the
couldn't
dunk contest.
pick him out of his lineup because I didn't watch his dunks because I heard they weren't good.
They were terrible. They were absolutely horrendous. It was seriously, it was
I
like,
know he
I
plays for
think
Chicago, right, Mike? He plays for Chicago.
Buzelis plays for Chicago.
That's what I'm saying. Buzelis plays for Chicago.
Andre Jackson plays for the Bucks.
Does he play?
Anyway,
Does he play?
he plays a little bit. I don't. He doesn't play a whole lot, but the bottom line is you have to have NBA players in here, and it goes back to the same thing, right? There's nothing that the league can do to force guys to play hard in the All-Star game. There's nothing that the league can do to force guys to participate in the dunk contest. But if you talk about what kind of dunk contest would you want to see, Ja Morant would be in it. A healthy Zion Williamson would be in it. Give me Amen Thompson in the dunk contest. And then Mac McClung. Give me one more guy that we'd like to see. Who's one more guy that give me Anthony Edwards?
Old man LeBron.
Sure, maybe, but it would have been fun to see 19-year-old LeBron in the dunk contest. That would have been fun. And unfortunately, when he begged out of it and never participated, I think that was the beginning of the end for the dunk contest. And look, it's still fun, and you're probably going to watch it. I'm going to watch it. People are going to check it out, but it's nowhere near what it could be if you had legitimate NBA, at least stars participating in it. Guys who have dunked in game, guys who people recognize, guys who fans are going to recognize. Mac McClung was fantastic. He's been fantastic for 3 years. Kudos to him. Kudos for the league for rolling him out there because without him, I'm not sure what we're getting. But the bottom line is he shouldn't be in the dunk contest because there's plenty of guys that are in the NBA that can come up with entertaining dunks and be much more popular and much more likely to have fans tune in to watch them than Mac McClung.
Yep. All right. I think we ended on that note, Mike. You got anything else? Anything else?
So let's recap. All-Star Saturday night. We're going to start with skills challenge, knockout, 3-point contest, dunk contest with all legitimate NBA players.
Plus Mac
preferably some
McClung, because there's no
All-Stars.
way he's not in it next year.
We can let McClung come for one more year till we can knock him out with an NBA star. The All-Star game, East versus West. You got to rely on the players' personal pride to actually get the game to be competitive. Give them a 20-minute halftime. You want to have a musical act in there. You want to have Kevin Hart do a comedy routine, whatever. But when I tune into the All-Star game and it's supposed to start at 8 o'clock, I want to watch basketball from 8 o'clock until 10:15 or whatever that game's going to end, knowing that I have a 15 or 20-minute halftime. Otherwise, I want to watch basketball. I don't want to watch Kevin Hart. I don't want to watch Shaq and Ernie go fishing. I don't want to watch Too Short and En Vogue. I just want to watch basketball.
I mean, that should be the name of our episode. I just want to watch basketball. Like, can you put that as the name, the title of the episode?
Yeah, that'll be the subtitle. NBA All-Star recap. I just want to watch basketball.
There we go.
Episode title complete. You just saved me some brainstorming time. Very good. All right. Thanks, everyone.
And your
for checking
your
out.
clip could be that clip, Mike. The clip could be the clip. Here you go.
It could be. I like it. We could do that. All right. Thank you for checking out tonight's NBA episode of the Hoopheads podcast. When we come back next week, the second half of the season will be in full swing. We'll talk more about sort of where we think the league is headed as we roll towards the end of the season and the beginning of the play-in and playoffs. So please check that one out next week, and we will catch you on our next episode. Thanks. All right, look at that. No dog interruptions. You didn't have to do any ad reads.
Right.
I might be able to just bang this thing out like
Come here.
quick.
She was stirring a little bit right here. Mike, she was stirring a little bit.
There she is. I don't even know where my